May 23, 1618. Prague Castle. 3 men dragged to a window. Below them, a 70-foot drop into a stinking moat. One word, and an empire falls. They didn't just throw men from a window. They threw Europe into 30 years of war. In the heart of Europe, a kingdom rose along the banks of a silver river called Bohemia. For generations, the Habsburg crown ruled this land, a Catholic dynasty governing a people divided by faith. Most of Bohemia's nobles and people had turned toward the Protestant faith, defying the empire that ruled them. In 1609, Emperor Rudolf II signed the Letter of Majesty, granting Bohemia's Protestants the freedom to worship. For a brief moment, peace settled over the kingdom, fragile as glass, and just as easily shattered. Then came Ferdinand, a devout and unyielding Habsburg heir, determined to bring the empire back to Rome. Word spread quickly through Bohemia's Protestant halls that their new ruler intended to undo every promise made before him. One by one, Protestant churches were shuttered and seized, small violations that grew louder with every passing month. Across the countryside, Bohemia's Protestant nobles began to gather, drawn together by a shared and growing fury. They wrote petitions demanding the emperor honor the freedoms once promised, and sent them to Vienna's silent halls. But the emperor's regents dismissed their pleas entirely, treating Bohemia's warnings as nothing more than empty noise. By the spring of 1618, patience had run out, and Bohemia stood at the very edge of rebellion. On the 21st of May, Bohemia's Protestant leaders assembled once more, but this time, their mood had changed. Count Thurn rose before them, a fierce and commanding voice, calling for action rather than empty words. Voices clashed through the night, some urging caution, others demanding the regent's answer for their broken promises. By dawn, the decision was made. They would march to the castle and confront the emperor's men directly. On the morning of May 23rd, armed noblemen gathered in the courtyard, faces set with grim determination. They marched through Prague's narrow streets, the sound of boots echoing off ancient stone walls around them. They reached the towering gates of Prague Castle, and the guards, sensing the danger, did not resist. Inside the chancellery, the nobles entered the very room where royal decisions had long been made. There stood the regents, Martinic and Slavata, the emperor's chosen men, now facing the fury they had ignored. Thurn stepped forward and read their crimes aloud, accusing them of trampling every promise made to Bohemia. The regents stammered, desperate to explain themselves, but their words fell on ears already hardened with anger. Beside them stood their secretary, Philip Fabricius, unaware that he too would share in their fate. The room fell utterly silent, every eye turning toward the tall window looming behind the frightened regents. Rough hands seized Martinic first, dragging him backward as he screamed for mercy that would never come. They hauled him toward the open window, his cries drowned beneath the roar of furious, accusing voices. Without hesitation, they hurled him through the window, his body vanishing into the open air below. 70 feet below waited the castle moat, and for one long moment, time itself seemed to stop. Miraculously, he survived the fall, landing in a heap of refuse that broke his violent descent. Slavata fought back with desperate strength, clawing at the stone frame, refusing to accept his fate. But the nobles were relentless, prying his fingers loose as his cries echoed through the ancient hall. Moments later, Slavata too was thrown, tumbling helplessly into the same unforgiving open air. He struck the ground hard, badly injured but alive, his survival already becoming the stuff of legend. Finally, they turned to Fabricius, dragging the terrified secretary toward the very same fatal window. He too was cast out, the third man thrown that day into Bohemia's rebellion against an empire. To the astonishment of everyone above, all 3 men rose slowly, bruised, humiliated, but very much alive. Catholics called it a miracle, angels breaking their fall, while Protestants simply laughed, blaming the castle's filthy moat. Word of the incident raced across the empire, reaching Vienna's royal court within a matter of days. Bohemia's nobles declared open defiance, announcing to the world that Habsburg rule would no longer be obeyed. A provisional government rose from the chaos. 30 directors, now claiming control over Bohemia's future. Across Bohemia, Protestant estates rallied behind a rebellion, believing their moment of freedom had finally arrived. Bohemia hastily raised an army, arming farmers and noblemen alike to defend their fragile new freedom. Messengers rode across Europe, appealing to Protestant allies for support against the looming Habsburg response. Bohemia offered its crown to Frederick, a young Protestant prince from the distant Palatinate region. Frederick accepted, crowned king of Bohemia amid soaring hymns and the hopeful cheers of his new people. Prague erupted in celebration, believing they had secured both their faith and their independence forever. History would later call him the Winter King, a reign that shimmered briefly before the frost arrived. Frederick sought alliances across Europe, hoping powerful Protestant nations would rally swiftly to his side. But support trickled in slowly, and Frederick badly underestimated the fury he had provoked in Vienna. Despite the rebellion, Ferdinand was crowned Holy Roman Emperor, and he began preparing his answer immediately. The Catholic League rallied behind Emperor Ferdinand, led by the ambitious and powerful Duke of Bavaria. General Tilly assembled a disciplined army, hardened veterans marching swiftly toward the heart of Bohemia. Thousands of soldiers advanced through the countryside, an unstoppable force closing in on Prague itself. Frederick's forces gathered in response, but they were underfunded, undertrained, and hopelessly outnumbered. The Protestant allies he had counted on failed to send the reinforcements Bohemia so desperately needed. On November 8, 1620, the two armies collided at a place called White Mountain. Cannon fire tore through the morning fog as soldiers clashed violently across the muddy battlefield. Within hours, the Bohemian lines collapsed entirely, soldiers fleeing in terror across the shattered field. Frederick fled Prague that very night, his reign lasting barely a single fleeting winter. The Catholic League stood triumphant, Bohemia's brief rebellion crushed in a single devastating battle. Habsburg soldiers marched back into Prague, and imperial banners rose once more above the castle. Retribution came swiftly, as soldiers hunted down every nobleman who had dared to defy the emperor. 27 rebel leaders were captured and imprisoned, awaiting a judgment already decided in Vienna. On June 21, 1621, they were executed publicly in Prague's crowded Old Town Square. Their heads were displayed atop the bridge tower, a brutal warning left hanging for over a decade. Bohemia's Protestant nobility was crushed, forced into exile, or coerced into converting back to Catholicism. For nearly 3 centuries afterward, Bohemia remained firmly bound beneath Catholic Habsburg rule and control. But the violence unleashed that day could not be contained within Bohemia's borders alone. What began as one kingdom's rebellion ignited a continental war that would rage for 30 long years. Famine and plague followed the armies, and entire regions of Germany were left utterly devastated. Sweden, France, Spain, and Denmark were all eventually drawn into the widening and merciless conflict. In 1648, exhausted nations finally signed the Peace of Westphalia, ending 3 decades of relentless bloodshed. The war had reshaped Europe entirely, redrawing borders and forever altering the balance of power. By the war's end, millions had died, one of the deadliest conflicts Europe had ever witnessed. Today, that same castle window stands quiet, its violent history nearly forgotten by those who pass beneath it. It remains one of history's sharpest reminders, how one small act of defiance can ignite an entire continent. 3 men thrown from a window became the spark that plunged Europe into decades of devastating war. Prague endured, rebuilt itself, and today stands as one of Europe's most beautiful and resilient cities. This is the story of the Defenestration of Prague, the fall that shook an empire to its core.